Buenos días a todos. Good morning and welcome to Familias Inclusivas Mental Health Support for LGBTQ Youth. I'm Wendy Bateman and I am so thrilled that you are here today. In today's session, we're going to talk about ways we can be inclusive in our families and provide essential support for the mental health and well-being of our LGBTQ plus youth. Okay, so again, bienvenidos, welcome. Just a few points to keep in mind before we get started. We are going to talk about a wide range of topics. So this presentation is what you can call a dip your toe in the pond type of presentation, offering a glimpse into the crucial aspects surrounding ways we can support our LGBTQ plus youth. It is not a deep dive, but rather a space to explore and initiate meaningful conversations. Also, this is a multilingual space. Entonces, si hablan español u otros idiomas, siéntanse con la confianza de expresarse en inglés, en español, en cualquier idioma, incluyendo si quieren hablar con el micrófono o en el chat. Al final de la presentación tendremos 10 minutos para hacer preguntas. And most importantly, we're going to approach this session with honor and respect. We are all here to learn, understand, and support one another. Okay, and as I mentioned in Spanish, at the end, we will have a few minutes for question and answers. I will also be sharing a link to this presentation so that you have all of the embedded links throughout that are shared throughout this presentation. And I will also share with you my contact information in case, questions do come up later on or you don't have the link to the presentation anymore. I'm happy to share that again with you. Wonderful. I do have two screens, so if you see me kind of turning directions, that is why. I promise I'm not distracted. Okay, so what are today's objectives? Today we have 4 objectives. The first one, we're going to talk about the impact of family behaviors. Here we're going to explore both the negative and positive influences that we can have on our kids with what we say or what we do and how that can shape their mental health. Secondly, we're going to talk about some terminology regarding sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. And this is to enhance our understanding of LGBTQ youth experiences. We're also going to brush over some New Jersey laws and district-wide policies just to take a look at the legal landscape in New Jersey and just become aware of what protections are in place for our kids at school and throughout the state. And finally, we'll wrap up with resources for families. This is lists of organizations, websites, books, guides, and this could be valuable for both parents and youth. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to begin with family behaviors and their profound impact on the mental well-being of LGBTQ plus youth. Again, our support as parents or caregivers or educators really play a pivotal role in shaping our youth's experiences and their future. So let's talk about how our actions can make either a positive or a negative difference in their lives. All right. Here are some statistics that underscore the importance of supportive family environments. This is through the Family Acceptance Project, and this is a wonderful organization founded and directed by scholars at San Francisco State University in California. And they are really the pioneers in the field of studying LGBTQ plus youth and their families, and the first to use evidence-informed family support models to help diverse families learn to support their children. I love that this organization is really highlighting that as our kids are going through their own journey, as parents, we are too. And as caregivers, we are too. And we need support. And that is what they focus on, empowering and supporting parents as they are learning to support their children as well. So the first statistic here to keep in mind, 5 to 7% of adults are not heterosexual. So this really just emphasizes the diverse range of sexual orientations that exist in our society. And it's just a reminder to embrace this diversity and in this way be more inclusive and understanding. The second statistic, LGBTQ plus youth facing high levels of family rejection are 8 times as likely to have attempted suicide. And trigger warning, we are talking about mental health. So this sobering statistic highlights the critical need for acceptance and support within our households, within our families, and how important it is for us as caregivers and family members to make sure that we're doing everything we can to steer away from our kids, really not being in our lives anymore. The third statistic, LGBTQ plus youth facing family rejection, high levels of family rejection are also 3 times as likely to elicit illegal drugs. And again, this is another important reminder of the impact we can have on steering away our youth from harmful behaviors and protecting them against risks, big risks such as this. 1 second. Okay. Wonderful. So LGBTQ youth that faces rejection at any level, high, medium, or moderate, the compounding effects have terrible effects on their physical and mental health. This can lead or leads to lower self-esteem, feeling more isolated, having fewer people that they can turn to for help, and having high risk of having health and mental problems when they become young adults, as young as 21 through 25. Okay. So, como mencionamos al principio con las estadísticas, ¿sí? Cuando hay altos niveles de rechazo familiar, hay una probabilidad 8 veces mayor de que nuestros hijos intenten suicidarse. Esto puede ser evitado de nuevo conociendo qué tipos de cosas podemos hacer para evitar que nuestros hijos no estén en nuestras vidas. También hablamos de una estadística anteriormente. Cuando hay alto rechazo familiar por la identidad LGBTQ, hay una probabilidad 3 veces mayor de que nuestros hijos consuman drogas y se pongan en peligro. También cuando hay alto rechazo familiar, hay una probabilidad 3 veces mayor de correr alto riesgo de infectarse por VIH y otras enfermedades. So, again, this also points to when kids are facing high levels of rejection from their family because of their LGBTQ identity, they're more than 3 times as likely to be at risk for HIV and sexually transmitted infections. So, what behaviors should we avoid? And this list was created by Caitlin Ryan from the Family Acceptance Project. This is a shorter version of what you can find on the organization's website. So I do invite you to later do a deeper dive if you're interested in just making sure that you have a deep understanding of which behaviors we should avoid to steer our kids in a positive future. So hitting, slapping, or physically hurting your child because of their LGBT identity should be avoided. Verbal harassment or name calling because of your child's LGBT identity. Blaming your child when they are discriminated against because of their LGBT identity. Or telling your child that God will punish them because they are gay or transgender. Or telling your child that you are ashamed of them because of how they look or how they act will bring shame to the family. And another important one is blocking access to LGBT friends, events, and resources is a huge one. I love also that the Family Acceptance Project has great studies and information for families that have some sort of religious background or affiliation, and they are just so good at guiding you in finding the right communities and still not lose, you know, your religion or your faith. So I think that's very important for some families. So what behaviors do help? Again, this is a shorter list. You can find a more extensive one on the Family Acceptance Project's website. Talk to your child or foster child about their LGBT identity. Just be open to it, even if you don't fully understand it. Allow them to talk to you. And when they do talk to you, express affection when you learn that they are gay or transgender or non-binary. A simple hug or I love you can really go a long way. Advocate for your child when they are mistreated because of their LGBT identity. This includes family members. You must require other family members to respect your LGBT child. And sometimes that means creating your new family or, losing some people and adding other people, all in an effort to help your child thrive and create a supportive and loving environment in your home. Definitely welcome your child's LGBT friends and partners to your home. And this one I love because parents just have such a big impact on their kids. Believing your child can have a happy future as an LGBT adult will also plant a seed for them to believe that they can have a happy future. And of course, this has many different effects, whether it's professional successes or they have a wonderful family later on and choose to have kids, but this ripples across their lives just simply by believing, you know what, my kid is not doomed. They can be just as happy with their identity. And de nuevo, si como padre pensamos que nuestros hijos pueden ser felices teniendo una identidad LGBTQ, nuestros jóvenes también lo pueden creer y si son sumamente aceptados en la familia, el 92% de los jóvenes van a creer que pueden tener un futuro feliz. Y de nuevo, esto impacta varios sectores de sus vidas, ya sea profesionales, ya sea formando una familia, amistades. Si ellos pueden visualizarlo, imaginárselo y creérselo, lo pueden lograr. Y cuando no hay esa aceptación, cuando el padre hace comentarios como no vas a ser feliz, te van a tratar mal o cosas negativas, vemos aquí el 35% de los jóvenes van a internalizar esos comentarios y van a crecer pensando que no es posible tener una vida feliz. Again, these studies on behaviors that parents can do to accept or reject our kids really shapes the outlook our kids can have on their life and of course their mental health and well-being. And again, if there's just one big takeaway from these behaviors is when your child approaches you and wants to talk to you about their identity or any concern surrounding LGBTQ matters that they may be experiencing, a simple "I love you" is so, so powerful. Okay. All right. So we're going to transition into some terminology in order to understand what our kids may be trying to tell us or teach us. I think it's perfectly normal to feel overwhelmed with how many new terms are being used and everything can seem confusing. And as language is ever evolving, it just seems like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything. I don't understand. And just know that you're not alone. Many parents and caregivers, I mean, growing up in a different generation than our kids, are not using the same language, and not just surrounding LGBTQ youth. We see it with a lot of other vocabulary. So we're gonna watch a video. It's very short, but it's a dad and a kid. And I want you to tell me in the chat after this video if you relate to one or both characters, or if you have any thoughts or comments. I would love to hear that. So please feel free to share. Este video es totalmente en inglés, pero para resumirlo, es cortito. Es un papá que está hablando con su hijo antes de que su hijo se vaya a un baile de la escuela que llamamos prom. Y el papá está tratando de tener una conversación sobre el sexo y relaciones sexuales y que tenga precauciones y cuidados antes de ir a recoger a su compañera. Y claro que el hijo eh, tiene un vocabulario completamente distinto al de su papá y su papá se le queda viendo totalmente confundido, como si le estuviera hablando en otro idioma, pero es un poco cómico porque tiene quizás nos podemos identificar con uno o con el otro o con ninguno, pero después del video me encantaría que pusieran en el chat si se identifican con el papá, con el hijo, o si tienen algún otro comentario sobre este video. Okay. I just see in the chat the audio is not playing. Can you all hear the audio?
I can't hear it on my end. No,
You can.
no, I cannot.
Cannot. Okay. Let me see if I can. Let's see if I can pop out up here and. 1 second. You couldn't hear that second time either, correct?
No, it sounds like it could be very soft. I'm not sure, or if it's just like
That's okay. That's okay. These things happen. All right. It's all right if the audio didn't play. Again, you will have let me just plug my microphone back in. Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Perfect. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know why the video and in the or the audio in the video is not playing, but um, just to summarize, the dad is a little frustrated with the kid because he's trying to have a sex talk with him before he goes to prom, and the kid is kind of patronizing with his dad and using the latest terminology and like, dad, like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't refer to women as this or that. And the dad is just hearing all of this new terminology, like, what is my kid saying? Okay, just go have fun. All right, I give up. And so again, I think a lot of us can relate, maybe whether it's our students or our kids, when they're using new terms. So that, here we go, will transition us into this terminology. Again, it's a lot, and we're only going to go over a few terms. And again, this is ever evolving. So, it's important as parents to stay reading and up to date and connected with organizations and allies that teach us new information and are here to support us. So LGBTQIP2SAA, it stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, queer, intersex, pansexual, two-spirit, androgynous, and asexual. Some of us may be familiar with some or all, but all of those terms that we just previewed can be encompassed in this graphic called the gender unicorn. Some of those terms refer to gender identity o identidad de género. We see here on the gender unicorn graphic, it's pointing to the rainbow in a little thought bubble, referring to this is something internal, okay? It's an internal truth that only we know, and it may or may not necessarily match the outside. We'll go a little bit deeper into it in just a moment. Gender expression, we see here in green, expresión de género. This dotted green line is pointing to the outside and the full body. So gender expression refers to how we outwardly express ourselves to the world. And this can include behavior, clothing, hairstyle, voice, or really any external characteristics. We have sex assigned at birth, or sexo asignado al nacer. The icon here is a DNA, and located in this part of the body, we have female, male, other or intersex. And, it's important to know, I think a lot of times, especially in the United States and Latin American countries, there are only two options in birth certificates. So this is usually assigned by a medical professional, and they base it on very visible attributes of a baby's body. But it's important to note this purple dot, other or intersex, that 1.7% of the time, an individual's reproductive or sexual anatomy does not fit the definitions of male or female. And this can occur in different ways. There could be differences in internal reproductive organs, chromosomes, hormone levels. So for example, a baby could be born with a uterus and testes. That is just one variation of many. And again, this is not a disorder. It's rather a beautiful and natural variation of the human biology. And that 1.7% of the human population that are intersex is just as common as people that have red hair. So think about how many people that you know or you've maybe seen on the news media in the world with red hair. that's how many humans are born with these variations. And this is what we call intersex. And there are many intersex advocates today that are working to raise awareness and challenge stigma in order to promote the well-being of individuals with intersex variations. So just being aware and understanding this does support the rights of intersex people and contributes to creating inclusive and affirming families. Lastly, we have sexual orientation or orientación sexual. The symbols here are an orange and red heart, and sexual orientation refers to a physical or emotional attraction towards another person. So let's talk about sexual orientation very briefly. Orientación sexual, ¿sí? Se refiere a la atracción que sentimos, ya sea emocional o física, hacia otras personas. Cuando nos sentimos atraídos a personas del sexo opuesto, lo llamamos heterosexual. Si nos sentimos atraídas a personas del mismo sexo, lo llamamos homosexual. Y si nos sentimos atraídos a ambos o varios sexos, como aprendimos, no hay solamente dos sexos, lo llamamos bisexual. Y estos términos van evolucionando. Es interesante ver cómo la connotación de las palabras también va cambiando, ¿sí? En algún momento decir homosexual era muy peligroso, tenía una connotación muy negativa y era usado de una manera despectiva. Eso va cambiando. All right, so we're going to test your knowledge very quickly on sexual orientation terms. Here we have 6 letters used to describe sexual orientation. En el chat, si pueden poner en cuanto a la orientación sexual, ¿qué significa la letra L? So what does the letter L stand for? Anybody know? If you do, put it in the chat. Yes, Brenda, you got it. That's right. Perfect. Yes, and lesbian or lesbiana refers to a person who is female identified and is emotionally or physically attracted to other females. Good. What does the letter G stand for? Type it in the chat if you know. Wonderful. You got it, Brenda. That's right. G is for gay or gay, a male identified person who is emotionally or physically attracted to other males. And the letter B, I'll have you guess the top, or list the top 3. What does B stand for? We just went over it. All right, so it stands for bisexual or bisexual. Again, this is a person who is attracted to 2 or more genders. The letter A, see, it stands for asexual or asexual. This is a person of any gender that does not feel any sexual or emotional attraction to anyone. There's also a P for pansexual or pansexual. This term is used to describe people who have a romantic, sexual, or affectional desire for people of all genders and sexes. And the last one is S. S is here to trick us. Because S stands for straight. En español, S straight significa heterosexual, ¿sí? No es parte de la comunidad LGBTQ, entonces todos los que no se consideran parte de la comunidad son heterosexuales, so they're straight, and it refers to a sexual or romantic attraction between people of the opposite gender. Okay. So very quickly, there are a few terms that are used synonymously to one another, and it can get a little bit confusing. So we're going to highlight here what gender means, o qué es el género. So gender, the word gender, refers to a social and cultural expectation that is perceived with being perceived as either female or male. So everything is kind of categorized, and this varies across cultures and evolves with time. So for example, in today's time, pink is typically associated for girls, blue is associated for boys. At one point, it was the other way around. Blue was for girls and pink was for boys, and that changed. In this picture here, we see women gathered in what looks like a kitchen. They're cooking meals. So in some societies and culture, it's typical to see a group of women gathered and making meals. Um, or when it comes to professions, for example, in the field of construction, typically we see men working in construction. So again, gender are the rules that we make up as a society as, what being masculine looks like and is like, and what being feminine is like. Gender identity, however, again, it's an internal truth of how we perceive ourselves. And again, this might not match what we were assigned at birth. Um, Kids as early as 3 years old are aware of their gender identity, and they can become aware at any age, really. But it's never too early for them to know their internal truth. And again, talking about the behaviors that positively or negatively impact their mental health and well-being. When our kids are communicating at such an early age and we are denying that internal truth, we are teaching them not to trust themselves. And again, that has many consequences later in life, like, they're always seeking others to make decisions because they can't trust their own, intuition or gut. Um, so, de nuevo, identidad de género es una verdad interior, no la podemos ver. Nuestros hijos o pequeños nos lo pueden comunicar eh, a la temprana edad de 3 años, ¿sí? Cuando comienzan a usar palabras y nos comienzan a decir cómo se sienten. Puede pasar a cualquier edad, pero no es demasiado temprano para que ellos nos comuniquen, ¿sí? Cómo se sienten dentro. So gender identity o identidad de género, we have two terms that are used, lo siento, today. We have cisgender, and this refers to someone whose gender identity aligns with the sex assigned at birth. So if I was born and the doctor said, she's a girl, and I grow up and I feel like a girl and it matches, who I feel is my identity, then I am cisgender. Right? Transgender is for someone whose gender identity or gender expression differs from the sex that they were assigned at birth. So if the doctor said she's a girl when I was born and I am not truly a girl, um, I've always been a boy, then that would be transgender. See? So again, these terms are oftentimes used synonymously, so we're just going to break them up really quickly to recap. Sex assigned at birth, again, is by a medical professional, and I just want to highlight that in the state of New Jersey, it is possible to legally change your gender marker on your birth certificate for your child. Even if they were born in a different state. So we're lucky to have laws in place that can help us protect our transgender youth, because as you may imagine, our transgender youth is going to grow up and later, go to a different school or obtain a driver's license or some sort of ID, some form of ID, a passport or anything. And if it discloses, this marker that was listed by a doctor incorrectly, it could out them and put them in dangerous situations. We have gender, again, reminding ourselves that this is a socially constructed way of categorizing behaviors, roles, and expectations between what is male and what is female. We see a picture here of a kid at a store. We've seen it a lot. The toy aisle for girls is marketed as pink, and the toy aisle for boys is blue, black, green, different colors. And when we go to a pharmacy, for example, we also see the same products like razors or shampoos, right? These feminine colors marketed for women and these masculine colors marketed for men. And of course, that's tied to profits because companies figured out that dividing these genders or categorizing them into leads to bigger profits. And gender identity is who we truly are, and I want to highlight that they can know as early as they're able to communicate with you, which is around 3 years old or later in life. All right, so we're going to talk about laws and policies just to make us aware of, what's protections are in place in the state of New Jersey, and we can be our children's biggest advocates. So one law to note in the state of New Jersey is NJLAD, and this protects our kids from being subject to differential treatment in federally funded education programs and activities. I've listed a couple of links below. They're embedded, and again, I'll give you a copy of this presentation so you can deep dive into this law, but just know that our kids cannot be discriminated against because of their LGBTQ identity. We also have NJ Chapter 32, which is a law passed by Governor Phil Murphy a couple of years ago, and it was implemented school year 2021 through 2022. And this is just where he was asking school districts to incorporate more instruction and curriculum, promoting a wide range of diversity, not just LGBTQ, you will see here, it's economic diversity, religious tolerance, and anything that will encourage and ensure that kids are going to a school that is safe and welcoming and inclusive to all kids. All right. And finally, we have school policies, or every district has school policies, and they have a legal responsibility to adopt district wide policies that clearly state how they are providing safe environments for our students at schools. New Jersey is very progressive in the sense that in public education, they do have policies for gender identity, gender expression, kids who are transgender. And yeah, I invite you to go to your school district's website and just get familiar with these policies because all schools should have a zero tolerance for bullying or discrimination on any basis. Okay, so we are concluding our journey here today. We're ending with family resources or recursos para familias. This is a list of LGBTQ organizations that are awesome places to learn. There are many more, and when you visit each one of these, it will lead you to more organizations. But if you're looking for great places to learn information or get guidance and support, this is a great place to start. Proyecto en Familia is the family acceptance project. I love that they have multiple languages. All of their research is translated and transcribed, any interviews, videos. They have them in at least 5 languages. So it's a really great resource. And again, I love it because they are the pioneers in researching how they can support parents as their kids go through this journey. We have organizations like GLAD, High Tops, which is based in Princeton, New Jersey, and they offer many things in person, but also via Zoom, so you don't have to drive all the way to Princeton if that's kind of far for you. PFLAG, there's also a great chapter in Philadelphia. And given that we're next door neighbors to Pennsylvania, it's great to take opportunities to get guidance and support from our neighboring states. Also, the Gender Spectrum Education and Training is a great organization, and so is Gleason. There's a wonderful teacher that created a list of books that they recommend, and their website is called Teaching Outside of the Binary. They do just a great amount of work providing curriculum resources, and family literacy is really a great way to support your kid and make them feel seen, heard, and understood. If you're bringing in literature that reflects their experiences or topics that they have been trying to talk to you about, this is one way you can show your support. And they include a list from elementary all the way to high school level. They have bilingual books as well. And of course, a list for adults. If you have younger kids in elementary school, Welcoming Schools is also a great place to find resources. I listed lesson plans here because a lot of families like to try activities with their kids at home, maybe on the weekends or after school. They just want extra practice. And again, it promotes family literacy. So here's some lesson plans, more books for children and young adults. And if you want to deep dive into terminology or get a better grasp of some of the terms being used today, they have a great guide. Welcoming Schools, again, also has guides like how to prepare yourself for put downs about gender, what to do and how to respond or how to set boundaries with family members. And it's a great way to protect your kid from, the harmful effects of rejection. They also have adult books for adults that have children that are transgender and non-binary, and this can be a great starting point to begin understanding our kids. And this English and Spanish guide, don't ignore it. What to say when someone says an anti-LGBTQ comment, whether it's a family member, community member, neighbor, etc. The Trevor Project is geared more towards young adults, but there's also great resources for parents and for siblings. Siblings can also play a big role in supporting our LGBTQ plus youth. And for example, here is a guide. How can I be an ally, if my sibling is transgender or non-binary? Or how do I approach intersectional conversations if I have a friend that's Black and gay, for example? Or maybe your kid needs help in coming out to a friend or coming out to a teacher or a family member. And this is a great guide for young people to just feel supported in the process and just find tools and ways that they can approach coming out to anyone. Good. Okay. Well, we have reached the end, and I want to make sure that we have time for questions. I know it was a lot of information, and you may have questions now or later. So